Welcome to the Guide Life Podcast by Whiskey Slews. This show is about the work, the hunts, and the real side of guiding. No filters, no fluff, just what it takes to build and run a hunting operation from the ground up. Every week we'll cover everything from land management to habitat work to the daily grind of guiding waterfowl upland and turkey hunts here in Nebraska. I'm Hunter Runge, CEO, guide, and the voice behind the blind. Bob is in the mode. We're back. It's a new episode. It's May now, I believe. It's middle of turkey season. Bobby finally got himself a break, so we decided to pull him off for a little bit of a turkey season podcast. Kind of get y'all an update of what our season's been like so far. It's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of dead turkeys. This weather's been tough, but we're having fun. We just got through our last group. We had a 3-day break, and tell you what, Bob's been getting himself some good sleep.
Sleeping like 14 hours straight all the time because we weren't sleeping at all during turkey season, Got to catch up.
Yeah. So, it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing good. The weather has been really inconsistent, but that's about every spring in Nebraska. Last year we had
a lot of days with high winds,
4 or 5 inches of rain too in April.
Yeah. And 50-mile-an-hour wind days.
Oh, man, that one day we went out to hunt that evening, and all of a sudden the gust went up to 50. Whew! Let me tell you, that gave me a run for my money.
So, this episode we're going to talk about early season, kind of break it down, and talk a little bit as we got into the mid-season, kind of some of the changes, new strategies we had to do, go through some of the gear we're using, some funny stories, talk about some mistakes and some learning opportunities, and then kind of preview what's next as we kind of close out the season. It's going to be a nice little episode for you guys here today. Talking turkeys. God, I hate turkeys. I'm not a turkey hunter. I never was. I go because it's some sort of hunting you can do. But Bob is like he's your turkey hunting fanatic, and then Evan also is turkey hunting crazy.
That man's half turkey. He's just he's literally half turkey.
Putting the best people in the field for the task at hand. I'll tell you what.
And it shows, too, because the rest of us have tried to go turkey hunting a couple times.
Hey, I'm 1 for 2, all right? I'm 1 for 2.
Again, but you also got put on by the people that do turkey hunt.
I mean, I made you drop you a pin.
I still killed it.
Go kill this turkey.
But anyways,
that turkey
I think there's been a total outings minus the clients, like the rest of us, like just leisurely going out before the work day. And I think we've been out probably a total. We're probably pushing around 10 days.
Joe's been getting his ass kicked.
I got my ass kicked 3 days. Joe's got his ass kicked about 4 or 5. We got our ass kicked one day, so whatever that math is.
Yeah,
a lot of ass kicking.
Yeah, there is especially in the turkey world, there is a huge gap between your average Joes and the guys that really know what they're doing.
Yeah. And you tell you what, like opening week had them fired up, but these birds are smart, The pressure, they shut them down quick. And, man, I remember when I went out and killed my bird, there was these guys from Arkansas hunting this little piece of, CRP public. And they'd told me they'd hunted there every single day since turkey season opened, and they'd already killed 4 or 5 turkeys off this one property, and we're hunting it till they were limited out. They'd hunt it all morning, all evening. I could not believe it.
The thing I'd say is that is why our public land, very short-lived, the few birds that you see on the public. They do not last long.
If you ain't hunting it in the first, 5 days, you're
more
toast.
Like the first 5 days of archery on most of it, even at Christmas. I mean, a lot of these places only have a few flocks of 10 to 12, and maybe you got 1 to 2 toms in them, and they're getting picked off most of the time before archery is even over.
Yeah, it was
or
interesting.
Educated
it was interesting to see how fast the pressure got a hold of them, especially on the. We have a lot of turkey properties that are surrounded with public land, and even the turkeys on our properties that Bob was hunting are like, whoa there, pal.
Yeah, I got one place that I was hunting. It had public land on both sides of it, and trying to work those birds versus you go to a piece that's completely isolated, several thousand acres inside, nobody's been in there. Man, let me tell you, there's one heck of a difference. You go work those birds that haven't been called at all season, your odds of success pretty dang high. You go in and work those birds that have been flirting with disaster, maybe 500 yards off the public land. They've heard those calls, maybe got called in, seen a different bird get shot at, maybe seen people, whatever. Man, the difference in trying to kill each of those birds, how you set up, how you hunt them, what their reactions like to your calling is just crazy. I mean, it becomes really important when you're hunting near those public lands to remember that silence is your best call. I mean, they're really, really easy to overcall. Your notes have to be just right. I mean, they will pick you out. They will identify your calling if it's bad, and they will be gone. And when you're calling, a lot of that stuff, some of it's a lot of thousands of acres of canyon, some of it's river bottom, whatever. Depending on your terrain, it's really important that you're sneaking in and out of those properties without getting seen. A lot of times a good rule of thumb is, you're trying to sneak in only far enough the birds can hear you and not any farther, because every step farther you take than you have to is one more step you might get seen. And trying to call the bare minimum, just enough to get their attention and curiosity, but not enough to, let them pick out where you're at, get a look at you. If you're in real wide open country and you're not knowing where the birds are, if you're trying to strike one up, it's really important that every time you go to call, you're getting yourself buried in the shadows. You're really trying to stay out of sight before you touch that call, because the instant you start calling at all, every eye within calling shot's going to look towards you. Whether they can see you or not, that's a whole different ballgame, but their eyes are looking for you as soon as you hit that call. If they're feeding whatever and you've ever watched it, when you hit that call, their heads go straight up in the air, their eyes go right towards that sound, and they start watching. And if you're out in the wide open and you hit that box call or hit that pot call, or you start yelping on your mouth call, whatever it is, and they're in earshot, they're going to be looking for you. And so really thinking about every time you're trying to locate that bird, where can I stand that I'm not going to be in sight? And like in our case, if I've got 2 hunters with me, where can I position the 3 of us so that when I call, nobody's in sight, but we can still hear well? You get too buried in cover, it's hard to tell where a gobble comes from, or if a hen yelps back, where was it? And then really being ready, if you do hear that gobble fire off, you want to already be positioned to where you can just sit down and continue to call that bird in and not have me scrambling for a spot, because depending, like the other day I struck one up, it walked out of a tree 20 yards from me away. And had we not been positioned properly when I hit that call, and it would have walked out right there, we had no chance to move, we had no nothing. And the hen came out first long before the gobbler, actually. Matter of fact, almost 2 hours before we got the gobbler to break the tree line. And if you're not positioned well when you hit that call and they come out looking for you, it's game over and you just lost. You got to go find a new bird to work, which, I mean, depending on the size of property, depending on what type of terrain, that can be a tough challenge to do. Like, once you find your bird, you want to be positioned that you can work that bird and kill that bird.
But time of year wise, opening week seems to be not, they were going, but it wasn't the same.
Opening week, they're fired up a lot early in the mornings. You're really, at that point, targeting the whole flock. Your flocks have started to split off to where it's little flocks of 10, 12 instead of your winter flocks of, 100 to 500. But they're still really hidden up. And a lot of the key there is you're trying to get in close enough to their bubble, which I usually like to try to sneak into about 150 yards in the dark. Somewhere inside of there, not get too much closer that you're going to get picked out. But try to find a position where I'm out of sight within 150 yards, and I can put a hen decoy out that's by herself. And I'll start doing a little bit of limb talk about 5 minutes before pitch time. And when I've been watching them pitch, I don't want to start much earlier. It gives them too much time to, pick out my calling, pick me out, whatever. But start getting that hen pissed off on that limb. And as soon as they pitch down, one of the big things that's real successful is making fly down noises, whether you're doing the fly down cackle, whether you're doing wing beats with your hat, whatever, sounding like a hen that just pitched down, and then getting really quiet. And when they get off that limb and you've got that hen mad, she's now going, where'd that hen go? Like, I want to go pick a fight with this hen, but where is she? And they come in curious, and they'll bring that tom with them every time. And so early in the season, that's really high success rate right off the limb. I mean, it's pretty often you're going to tag your bird before 8:30, because once they come off that limb, you're in the money or you're not. And more often than not, if you play your cards right, you're going to be in the money. But it definitely happens. I mean, you go in there like that, and you get busted in the dark, sneaking in, it's game over. I mean, you're not going to get a shot at these birds if you try to get too close. It goes back to the the principle of get close enough to get in their bubble, don't get so close you get seen, and really holding still. I mean, if you're not holding still, if you're not, trying to stay out of sight, you're going to get busted right away, especially if you're close enough to the roost where they can see you out of the tree. We had one group, the birds pitched down, came in right off a string, but they wouldn't cross the fence at about 80 yards, and so, we had to sneak around, make a little bit of a play, adjust where we were at, use the terrain, call a little bit, got a shot at like 30 yards. Next day, went back in there, we knew where they were liking to pitch down and how they were liking to play, but because we'd shot them to the east of the roost the morning before, we set up to the west of the roost where we could call them across where they've been pitching without them hitting that fence. And so that way they're hearing a different sound. I'll often switch up calls. If I'm using a pot call the day before, I'm either going to switch what brand of pot call I'm using, what type of striker, what type of material, or I'm going to switch to, a box call in combination with finishing them with a mouth call or whatever, and try to hit them with a totally different sound that they're not used to, and really vary up my cadences, but try to call them off that field to where they don't have to cross fences, or try to call them from that pitch zone to where they don't have to make a height terrain. I mean, really using like Onyx and watching your topographical lines and making sure that, if they're at 2,080 feet or whatever, you're following that line around and you're set up at 2,080 feet. You don't want to be set up at, 2,120 feet and be 40 foot above them and trying to call them up that hill if you don't have to. But you really don't want to be down below them calling them down. I mean, it's a lot easier to call them up than call them down, but you're best if you can stay on that height line. You can watch to make sure there's no land barriers, make sure there's nothing in between you that they're going to get caught up on, no creeks, no hills, no fences, and just call them straight across. So it's really important when you're planning out your hunt not to only think about how am I going to sneak into this 150-yard bubble and get set up, but also where have they been pitching to the last few days, and how can I call them from that position to where I am without them crossing any barriers. And so, like, when you're hunting them in that early season, that's your main go-to tactic, is you're trying to kill them right off that roost, but really overthinking the planning and preparation. And, I mean, if you've got a full moon, don't be scared to sneak in there 2 hours early and get set up and just wait, because those full moons, you make too much noise and you wake a bird up, they can see for miles. I mean, you got to really watch where you're going.
Weather does some weird, it does some weird shit to every bird, wildlife in general. But hell, even that night I went scouting with you, it was like a really nice, warm, hot day, honestly. And then all of a sudden this like front came through and it got pretty cold. Like, it got cold,
windy, rainy,
dark. Those birds were up in the trees roosted. Like,
yeah,
they roosted.
The earliest I'd seen them get.
They roosted.
It was like an hour early.
Oh, at least an hour. It might have been an hour 15 before like light even hit.
Yeah, and the crazy part about that is, and that goes back to too, when you're trying to find those early season flocks like that, crow calls, owl calls, goose calls, peacock calls, whatever you're using to locate birds are great and all. But you get weather like that, like Sam's talking, and we specifically took out extra scouts that night because we were a little worried about how roosting was going to go. But man, we caught them in binoculars jumping up into a tree, and had we not had an idea of the general region they were roosting in, we would have never found them with a locator call, because they would not make a sound that night because of the weather. And it was just completely silent. We caught every roost just strictly from using binoculars and our knowledge of the land. And a big thing is, I'd say, when you're really looking for those roosts that make that early season key, is when you go in there to find your roost, you go in midday and you mark pins of, hey, all of these trees look like they could be good roost trees. And then you put notes, this one had a lot of poop under it, this one didn't have as much poop under it, whatever. And which one had feathers. Feathers are a really good sign they've been there real recent. Same with looking at the age of the poop you're finding. And then at night, hey, I need to target these areas to watch for roosts. Instead of just trying to blanket cover a whole area, trying to break that property down during the daytime so that you know where to look when you're coming back in there in the evening is really important, especially when these birds are covering tons and tons of ground throughout the day and making big several mile long loops by the time it's done.
This is why I don't kill turkeys. Just what we're talking about here is why I don't kill him, because everything he's saying, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, don't it? I don't do it, but I'm reading. I don't do it. I don't even think about it like that. But I'm like, huh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense though. That's probably why he kills turkeys. Bob, you really could have just hosted this podcast today by yourself. You're really killing the game.
Let me tell you, I love chasing turkeys, and
You're
I'm
mad
fired
at
up.
'em.
I am real mad at them right now. I mean, we're getting into the middle of the season. Things are starting to shift a lot. But yeah, we're getting pretty mad at these turkeys. We're having a lot of fun putting them down. We're having a lot of fun chasing them.
Well, not only that, but like turkeys. I mean, we all kind of have our like our niche things, even amongst the owners. But like even the whole company as a whole. But like, you know, like I kind of take the reins with pheasant hunting. We all take part in the waterfowl. Some of us are better with goose calling. Some of us are goose hunting. Some of us are better with duck hunting. Turkeys, that's finally like your space to get out and do it. Because like, I mean, shit, in the fall you're scouting more than you're hunting. You're doing stuff around the lodge. Now like turkey hunting's your time to shine, where the rest of us sit back.
Every day of season, I get pretty fired up. You know, like right now is probably one of the most exciting parts of turkey season. Toms are starting to really get lonely. The hens are going to sit on nests. The toms aren't henned up as much. They're starting to fire off hot and heavy. You know, the other day I got one fired up, and 5 jakes came in, and one tom just came real pissed off in. Or the other day we had 12 toms come flying over our heads. It was crazy. But big thing to note there is we've really changed how we're hunting them as we get into this mid-season area. We're going from, you know, trying to really target the roost to, yeah, we're going to start off the morning off a roost. But most of the time your gobbler is going to leave with 2 or 3 hens. He's going to go breed those hens. They're going to go sit on the nest, and then he's going to be lonely. And that's when your success rate is really starting to pick up this time of year. And one of my favorite things to do is not run a decoy this time of year. You'll start trying to get where they want to be, or you'll start trying to strike one up. This is a really good time of year to be walking around striking them up. But when they come in, these birds, whether it's pressure or whether it's just wary, like especially with the Jake decoys, you'll see the toms look at them and they'll hang up a ways out there. They've got their ass kicked one too many times. A lot of times if you find a subordinate, and just no decoy, just hen calling. Their curiosity just freaking kills them. They'll walk right up to you at 5 yards, walking circles around you, trying to locate you. So that can be a huge tactic this time of year. Or, you know, when you're scouting, it's really important to watch the tom you're targeting's behavior. If you're targeting a big old tom that's been running every other tom off, all the subordinates, it's been kicking all the jakes' asses, you know, okay, I have a big old boss tom that likes to strut every day at this time in this spot. That's when you want to break out your Jake decoy this time of year and put it, you know, whether you're breeding a hen, whether you're set up with a feeding hen and a Jake decoy or a strutter, whatever, you want to get right in the middle of his freaking strut zone and just be there waiting for him, and you will piss that bird off to no end, and he will come in fired up, and it can be a real easy way to get a bird on the ground. But the downside of that is there's also a lot of subordinates that have got their ass kicked time and time again this time of year, and they weren't going to come within 80 or 90 of that Jake decoy. And so that's when not having a decoy can be good, or if you're hunting near areas that have been pressured, if they've seen a hen decoy a lot, they may not come into a hen decoy. They may just kind of sit there, see it, go, okay, that's what's going on, that's where she is, I'm out. And so, more times than not this time of year, it's really time to start putting the decoys away and really just focusing on their curiosity and trying to get into them. One of the big things that I switched to a lot this year is this time of year, you're getting these birds that are off chasing hens, and a lot of what we're hunting is, you know, some pretty hilly country, maybe some canyons, maybe big long river bodies that kind of trail off into little rolling hills covered in cover. Well, when these toms are off looking for these nesting hens, they could be in a little thicket, they could be in a tree line a mile away, whatever. They're really spread out. And so I start running a box call a lot because they can hear you an extra 100, 200 yards out over a crystal, and even farther than that over a mouth call. But then, like, when they start coming in, it's really important that you finish them with some more finessey notes And so that's when I'll pick back up that pot call as they start getting close and start doing some purring, some cutting, stuff like that to really work those birds. Or I'll use a mouth call depending on the hide. It's really important to think that through too, because if you're hiding in a fairly open area, like with your back against a tree, and you're running a pot call, they're going to pick that movement out of ways, especially if you have pressured birds. And so that's when your mouth call can make the difference and everything like that drastically as far as things go there. But, yeah, we're really starting to chase those toms that are getting split off, into the wide open areas with little cover versus quite as much on the river bottoms and stuff like that now.
It's amazing how the canyons run like highways.
Oh, it is. One of my biggest things that, like he's talking, is you can find a big canyon that connects a lot of cover, or a tree line that runs through a lot of cover. But if you can find one sort of terrain that they like to travel the edge of, or that big canyon, or something, even a lot of times just a literal road through a pasture, and you can set up on that where you can call and they can hear you for 500-600 yards. A lot of times you just sit and wait, because those toms, when they're chasing, they're like people. They're lazy. They want to take the path the least resistance, and they want to cover as much ground as possible. And so roads, big canyons, tree lines that stretch forever, maybe somebody planted a windbreak way back when, can all just be fantastic areas to catch them cruising. And as it gets hot, it's really important to keep in mind that, hey, midday, these birds are still horny. They're still fired up, but they want to be hidden in the shade. So, like, getting in a big canyon that's got a good flat area of short grass to strut, but also has shadows, great. These birds are large black birds that attract heat. Like, they're going to get hot midday. You gotta play accordingly as far as things go there. And then keeping in mind they're going to need water. We're in a drought year. Where there's water, there's birds. They're going to congregate on those water sources.
Bob, I couldn't have said that any better myself. This is just the turkey show. Me and Sam are kind of over here looking at each other, and we're like, man, we don't know shit about turkey.
No, and the one thing I will say is, it's just such a different style of hunting than anything else. Like, I one thing I really do love about turkey hunting, if we're just stripping it back to what it just bare basic roots of turkey hunting, that I really enjoy about turkey hunting is it's very, very responsive, like you're in the game type of hunting.
Oh yeah, you're having a one-on-one conversation
with
a bird
every day. Yeah, that's really fun to me. Like, for me, reason, like, I'm probably done turkey hunting for the year just because I'm in fishing mode now. But, like, reason I don't really care to hunt now is because I've been, the times that I've gone out, the weather's just been so shitty, and I haven't got to hear any birds like talk to me, and I'm just not knowledgeable enough to, at least about those properties. I haven't had the time to go out and go learn those things. But I can tell you, if there's anything with turkey hunting that I know I can give input on, is patience. Patience is kills. It kills birds. Whether it's quite literally patience in the field or patience learning about that property. Like, there's going to be so many times where it's like you go and hunt and you're like, damn, if I would have known that they were coming out this way, or they're pitching off the roost here, or oh shit, they're not roosting where I thought they were. And like, every single time you go out, one thing that's different about turkeys is they're not migratory birds, right? Like, if you just keep going out, you're going to learn something every single time you go out until you're able to get on that bird. Sometimes the stars align, the weather's just right. You may be set up on the complete wrong ass end of the property and it's dead quiet and you call them right in all the way across, but it don't always work like that. And so just taking the time to learn. And that's where me and Hunter fail, because we're just like,
I ain't got no patience for turkey
well,
hunting.
I got a lot of patience, but like, I don't have the time to like really, really digest and learn about these properties.
No, and patterning a bird is huge. I mean, knowing where it likes to strut, where it likes to go. I mean, most of your turkeys, for the most part, when they pitch off, they make what we call a turkey loop. They're going to go hit their morning strut zone. They're going to go hit water, hit feed, everything like that. But they, a lot of times, make a big loop. They're going to leave the roost going the same way every day, and they're going to come in from damn near the opposite day because they're going to walk the big circle. They don't walk out, turn around, and walk straight back. So it's really important to know where is the loop. And if you can figure out a turkey's loop, you could intercept them a lot. And the nice thing is, if you make a play on that bird and it doesn't work, but you know it's loop, you go around, you make another play. It doesn't work, you go around, you make another play until you kill that bird. But knowing a bird's loop, knowing where to find those birds throughout the day, and another big thing is just knowing, hey, I've got 5 different toms on this property. Every tom has this, and this pattern. You can bounce from tom to tom to tom to tom and keep intercepting these loops throughout the day, and it'll keep you on birds all day long, keep you making plays all day long until eventually something's going to die. Something's going to make a mistake. But with turkeys, they have to screw up while you have to do everything right to kill them, and that's what makes things so much fun, because if they don't screw up, you ain't killing them, and it's real easy to not do everything right. You've got to be on your A game to kill turkeys consistently. It is a very large chess game.
So what's your prediction for the late season, Bob?
Right now, we're seeing them get fired up a little bit later than normal. I think we're going to see that continue. The ticks are starting to come out. Mosquitoes are starting to come out.
Can we take a second to talk about my tick excursion?
Oh, yeah. You had so many ticks on you.
Bob, we go to this property.
Tick-palooza.
We go to this property, and Bob's like all gung-ho about trying to go look at the roosts and everything, and I'm like, all right, whatever. We walk in there to begin with. Literally, like, get down a hill, and I looked at my leg. There's like 10 ticks on it, and I'm like, what the hell? We get back up into the vehicle because we were like, oh, let's go drive around a little bit before it's a little early to roost these birds. We get in the vehicle, I pull like another 7 off me, and then I was like, what the hell is going on? And then we get back out there later. At one point, how many ticks do you think were on my leg?
30.
Yeah, I bet you altogether I probably pulled off like 60-ish ticks.
Yeah,
At least.
terrible.
Like conservatively, I can say I pulled 50 ticks off me. Then the worst part, you want some comedy in this podcast. The worst part, I'm laying in bed and we're watching a movie with my woman, and all of a sudden she's like, what the hell is on your ear? This is like, mind you, this is 2 or 3 days later. There was a tick that was attached to the outside of my ear. Ugh. It had been there for like 2 or 3 days, and that's why I'm sitting here doing this, itching my ear during the podcast because it's itchy as hell. That's another reason I'd rather be on the water.
Ain't no ticks on a boat.
Oh my God, the ticks are terrible. They're always terrible, especially when you get in like the river bottoms around here. But even the what's the word I'm looking for? Canyons. Jeez Louise. Even the canyons right now are terrible, and usually they're not.
Yeah.
Usually they're not bad.
No, it definitely, and it's going to get more and more that way. And like you said, a lot of the canyons, hills, little grass pockets off the river and stuff like that, little hardwood pockets. That's where the ticks are, and that's where we're finding.
I can tell you a great transition point based off of the ticks. Your gear matters.
Oh yeah.
See what I did there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely does. Matters on making sure I wear a lot of tick repellent clothing as far as things go there, and that definitely helps out as far as things go. Rogers makes a good set that I like to wear as far as things go there. They've got a lot of good turkey gear.
Oh, they got a bunch of insect repellent
Mosquito
stuff.
And tick repellent, peripherin or permethrin, whatever you call that shit. It works. But yeah, no, starting to target those, lonely toms, get ready for those, and try to find them isolated and roosting by themselves, or out looking for hens by themselves is kind of where things are starting to get as far as things get there, and get ready to put the herd on them the rest of the season.
Bob, I could not have said that any better myself. What a great ending point. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode today. I'm going to go on ahead and get this up here pretty soon. You guys should be seeing this pretty fast. You want to book a hunt, Grant, 308-224-7289. Give him a call. He'll answer any questions you have. If you want to check us out on socials, it's going to be at Whiskey Slews at everything. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And you better check back here in a few weeks for the ending episode of turkey season, see how we all ended up. We'll catch y'all later.